When I started my university degree, it would literally take me months to write an essay. And sometimes, despite the disgusting amount of time and effort I would put into the essay, the quality of my efforts would sometimes be still quite underwhelming. Since then, the quality of my work has improved dramatically, but the interesting thing is that I spend about 2/3, if not half, the amount of time working than I used to when I was in my undergraduate degree. Therefore, I'm going to be sharing the 6 best tips to help move the needle for me, which made me more productive. So hopefully after watching this video, you guys can be more productive yourselves and will have more free time outside of writing essays. While this might sound trivial and obvious, this was genuinely game-changing for me. Throughout school and my undergraduate degree, I used to type with just my 2 index fingers. This was until I actually committed to touch typing, and over the course of only a few months, I went on websites like 10 Fast Fingers. I really recommend this website in particular because it shows you the top 2,000 most commonly used words, and then it just puts it back to back, and you just type those words out over a minute or 2 minutes, and by the end of that, it will show you what your words per minute is in typing speed, and that can be a really useful measurement to see how your typing has improved over time. So in my case, before I switched to touch typing, I recorded a baseline, and it was 44 words per minute. I then switched to touch typing, and after 6 months, my typing speed was between 65 and 75 words per minute. It's probably got faster since then. And so that is an increase of 100% over the course of like a few months, or at least almost 100%. And so to me, that's absolutely crazy. So if you're writing really big essays, or God forbid, dissertations that are thousands and thousands of words, if you can double your typing speed, then it might sound like a trivial thing, but I imagine it will save hours of time. At least it would have saved hours of time for me personally if I knew this before I started my degree. Also, as a little perk, something that I didn't really think about before doing touch typing and improving my typing speed was that I never realized how frustrating it was thinking of a really good idea or sentence and then spending ages typing that out. But once you get better at typing, the speed in which you can type is closer to the speed in which you can think of ideas. So when it comes to more creative work, like writing a script for this video, or in this case, writing essays for university, it becomes a much more pleasurable experience. This is a fairly short one, and I cannot speak for art degrees, so BAs, but when it comes to BScs, so Bachelors of Science degrees, if you're doing a science degree, you want to be doing search strategies, and if you haven't done this in your undergraduate degree, you will probably do it in your postgraduate degree. But if you haven't been shown this yet, regardless of what science degree you're doing, I advise you to do this as soon as possible, assuming for most assignments you'll be looking for articles to read and scientific studies. In short, an advanced search strategy is when you use an advanced search on engines like PubMed, or maybe even your university library if they have a good search engine, and you will have certain requirements in your search. You'll say, okay, only include these keywords and don't include these keywords, only include studies within this time frame, only include studies from these journals or these databases, etc. And what this means is, after doing this, you will be spending way less time searching for essays and looking through titles and abstracts that are not relevant to what you want to do. So if you want advice for this, there's a search strategy called PICO, which is PICO. And I think roughly it's like, if it's like medicine, for example, it'll be patient, intervention, comparison, and then outcome. I think that's the case, but you might have to look it up for you. But just looking at different search strategies can be really useful and can save time when searching for studies for whatever assignment you do on your science degree. And if you want to learn about these advanced search strategies, I highly recommend just going online on YouTube or just Google and just looking to see how other people do it, because it's fairly easy to do it once you learn how to. But if you are using PubMed or your university library and you want to learn how to do an advanced search strategy, then let me know and I don't mind doing a video on that. At university, within the first few weeks of your course starting, you should be given a document which is called something along the lines of module outline or module handbook. If so, this document will contain information which is really useful for your assignments. This will be the types of assignments you're doing, how many assignments, the word count, the learning outcomes, all this very useful stuff you need to know. And on some universities, when they give module outlines, they will show you the weighing of each section of the assignment. But what do I mean by that? When it comes to the weighing, it shows you which parts of the assignment are most fruitful or most important with giving you marks. So I'll just give an example. If I was going to write an essay on sleep and how sleep affects the body, okay, let's just say 70% of the marks came from how sleep affects the brain specifically. I would therefore plan accordingly and dedicate 70% of my time to that section. This might sound obvious, but when I've spoken to other students, one of the biggest mistakes that students make is they dedicate time and they dedicate words that they eventually have to cut out anyway towards sections of the assignment which don't give a lot of marks. And I definitely used to be one of these students, so please don't make this mistake. If, for whatever reason, you don't have a module outline, or there isn't a module outline that at least shows the weighing of each assignment, then just speak to your lecturers and try and find out which parts of the assignment will give you the most marks. You've got some kind of guidance. Again, for those of you doing science degrees, I highly recommend using some kind of citation manager. Before using one though, it would be worth speaking to your university because certain citation managers are more compatible with certain universities. Two really good examples are Mendeley and RefWorks, and based on my opinion, even though Mendeley is more well known and is easier to use, I use RefWorks because it's more compatible with my university. If you're wondering what the hell a citation manager is, essentially it's an application, website, extension of Microsoft Word that helps you, manage your citations and also to categorize and format all your references so they're all in alphabetical order for you. I will admit, RefWorks can be a bit glitchy at times and it's not my citation manager of choice, but once I got used to it, it saved me at least an hour per assignment, which I would have spent formatting and manually typing out my references. And if I did this all the way back in my undergraduate degree, I probably would have saved dozens of hours, especially when writing really big documents like my dissertation that I did in my third year. For most people, assuming you wake up roughly around 8 o'clock, your most productive hours will usually be between 10 and midday. What this means is this time frame will be the time in which work seems the easiest, you've got most energy, and you can tackle assignments and things that are harder and more difficult. For me personally, I wake up at 7 o'clock, so between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock are my peak hours, and for me, they are like my sacred hours that I protect at all costs. I'm quite deliberate with what I do throughout the day, and I do everything I can to make sure my most important and/or difficult tasks are done between roughly 9 and 11 o'clock in the day. When I was younger, I tried to convince myself, and I was kind of in denial, and I tried to convince myself that I was a night owl and that I was more productive in working at night. But in actual fact, I just used to procrastinate and just want to play video games all the time, and then I would panic and leave my assignments or homework until, just before bed. However, there is some variation here. Some people might feel most alert the second they wake up. Bloody weirdos. Some people might feel most alert late afternoon, and for some people they genuinely are night owls and they prefer to work at night. However, that is more rare. But basically, do some experiments. Find out when is your peak time throughout the day. When do you feel like you're most energetic and you can tackle the most difficult work? And if you plan your most difficult tasks or the work you don't really want to do around that time, I can almost guarantee you will be more productive. Over the last few years, there's been a big wave against the idea of toxic productivity, against hustle culture, against the notion that, you can sleep when you're dead. And as many successful people will tell you, your body can in the short term sustain sprints, just working non-stop, but eventually you will burn out and eventually your mental health will crumble and deteriorate. No matter how motivated or disciplined you are, this will eventually happen to you, and this can have real hormonal and physiological effects that can take years to recover from. Yes, in the past I used to pull all-nighters when doing assignments to get them done on time. But now, one of the reasons why I am almost twice as productive, if not more, than what I used to be is because I'm meticulous of how I plan out my day. I make sure I eat well, I sleep well, I meditate, I go on walks, I exercise at least 3 times a week, etc, etc. And this isn't some kind of weird flex. I'm saying this because doing these things will have a huge impact on your mental health, and because I know what it's like to feel anxious and depressed. To feel like every day is like pushing a big boulder up a hill and you just don't want to get out of bed. And yes, occasionally I will have cheat meals or I'll lose a bit of sleep because I've been seeing my friends. So a big part of this is also about balance, not taking one idea too seriously. And as I've gotten older, the more intentional I've been with how I spend my day, the more balance I've found in my life and the more productive I've been at university. If you like this video, then you might also enjoy the video I did here where I talk about the 6 best tips for how I maintain focus throughout the day. Hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you there. Adios amigos.